Hey guys, it is Chris here. Good morning. So I just thought, considering, hey guys, it is Chris here. Considering I was going to do this anyway, I thought I might just go over a little bit of the kind of prep that I do before like a big event like this weekend, or even if I'm just playing around with products. I thought yesterday or last week, at the end of last week, on the Close to My Heart Facebook page, there was Karen came on and did a little video about prep for different ways to color your images for this weekend, which is the National Scrapbooking event. So I thought I would just come on and I'm going to just take a few minutes and I'm going to stamp a sheet the same way that she had it set up, and I'm just going to talk about a few of the things. I'm just going to make me a little bit smaller and my desk a little bit bigger so you can see. There you go. Okay, so a few things. So this weekend, there's a 2-day event from Close to My Heart. So there's a total of 5 projects. Just let me switch this here 1 second. There's a total of 5 projects happening. So there's a mini album, there's 2 scrapbooking projects, and then there is 2 sets of cards. So that is going to be a busy weekend. So you might want to decide how you're going to color your images for the weekend. So I think they're going to go over a ton of techniques during the event, but I just thought we would make the chart and I would talk you through kind of a few of the things that I do. I'm going to put this here so that the camera stops auto-focusing on my white. So there's lots of different ways to color things. Don't forget that. You don't have to do things the way that they're set up for the weekend. I'm just going to talk about the projects for 1 second. So each project has a slightly different look and coloring to it. So for the Sending You Hugs, they're going to use watercolor paints. Okay. So that's a cute stamp set featuring the little adorable animals. So the koala, the llama, and the zebra. So they're going to use watercolor paints for that. Then the More Than You'll Ever Know, that they are going to use, sorry, I'm just trying to, so that there is not coloring. I think it's just going to be maybe some background splattering and scrapbooking for that one. And then the Cheerful Humor, they're going to use a tri-blend marker to kind of highlight some of the things. And then Party Girl is watercolor pencil and then paper piecing, which is like one of my favorite things to do. So all of her dresses for the Party Girl are paper pieced. So if you haven't seen the image, she's huge, and we're going to stamp her right now. So when you are trying something new that maybe you've not done before, this is a great way to decide which technique you want to use. So we're going to stamp it 4 times because that's how the sheet was set up. So there was one with tri-blend markers. Hey, Cheryl and Jane. There was one with watercolor paints, then one with watercolor pencils, just coloring like you would a normal watercolor, like a normal pencil crayon, and then one where you add water. So I'm going to stamp those things while I talk to you about some of the ways I get ready. So on the blog, the Close to My Heart blog, they posted the day they were talking about the color wheel. they posted a downloadable PDF for watercolor paints. So it shows you how you can number your paints so that you can follow along with them. I'm assuming this is the guide they're going to use on the weekend also. And then it shows you how to mix your colors so you can get colors the same as Close to My Heart. So for like creating desert rose, you would mix 10, 11, and 33 and you'd get a desert rose color. So it actually talks you through like watercolor techniques, tips, etc. So you can download it and fill it in yourself with your own watercolor paint. So this is a great resource. You might want to go and look. So you can, sorry, I'm so much white. It's like making everything go crazy. But there's a blank sheet where you can put a sample of your watercolor paints, and then a second sheet where you can actually mix your colors to match Close to My Heart colors. So also a great thing to do is use your Tri Blends and create your own color sheet, right? So that you can later refer to it when you're coloring versus taking your markers out all the time and testing them on a piece of paper. So I'm going to start stamping so that hopefully my camera stopped zooming. So all I did was I took a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock and I divided it up into the sections. So I'm going to put my title at the top, and then we're going to do the koala bear, and then the piggy, and then party girl. And then later I'm going to sit down and decide on some colors for my Tri Blends. And then because really to touch this with watercolor, you really need it dry. I'm going to let this dry. And like I said, while I do this, I'm just going to talk to you about a few of the things other than this I would do to prepare for the weekend, because there's going to be a lot going on. So I've got all my stamps out. Like I said, I gridded off my paper. So at the top is just a little 1-inch section. And then this is 3, 2, and 6, just so you know. So I've got my intense black because that's what I prefer for watercolor, pencil crayons, anything where I'm going to get water on my surface. I'll try and move these over here and see if that's helpful. So I'm literally just going to stamp it 4 times and then later I'll come back and play. So as you saw before, I've already printed off all my directions. So you can go to my shopping website, and under the NSD bundles, they have all the resources ready to download and print. So they're all in PDF form. It tells you what you need for the workshop. It tells you the picture sizes, getting started tips. It tells you how to cut your paper, which I'll talk about in a second, and then the directions. If you want to read them over, that's helpful. So lots of times, like if I'm doing album retreat or a workshop like this weekend, I will sit down and I'll read through the whole package before we even start, just so that I kind of know what's going to happen, because sometimes they can move pretty quickly. So like I said, I'm just going to stamp these and then I'm going to play with them later with the different kind of inking techniques. But I thought I might just throw some tips at you. And so I'm just going to move my camera. There we go. Okay. Nope, Ginny, I wasn't live when you sent me the message. No worries. Okay, so I just want enough room so that later when I go in here, I have a little bit of extra room. Because what I'm going to do when I go back is, for example, when I'm playing with my watercolor pencil crayons, so this set all has names on them. So like this is watermelon red, this is mandarin, there is tropical yellow, so they all have a name on them. So when I color in like the koala bear, let's just say I colored in one of the flowers with the watermelon red, then later in pencil, I'm going to make some notes here as to which colors I used. Same for the tri-blend section. I'll mark down, like, did I use ice gray mid color? Or what did I use to color in her flowers? I just want enough room around it that I can kind of make a little bit of notes, and then I'll use it for reference later. And I probably didn't even need this much room at the top because, like I said, on a normal basis, I probably wouldn't even do that part, but I just did it so that I can show you guys later when I've got this all filled in. That koala is so stinking cute. I think she's, well, I don't know. I was going to say I think she's my favorite, but the llama is also really cute. So, and just because these are the 4 suggestions, don't think that's it, right? There are, you could paper piece these, you can use your inks, you could use your shimmer brushes. I'll show you again. The other day, here's the little piggy. So like I said, I grabbed the exact images that they had, and I'm going to play with them later. So the other day when I did the piggy card, I showed you lots of different ways to color on top of piecing the pig together, right? So I didn't do that on my sheet. So lots of times when I get a new stamp and I know I want to play with it a lot and do different techniques with it, then I'll just stamp a whole like white daisy sheet with the same image or images, like all the little piggies, and then I will play with it and see what I like, what I don't like. So for example, like the shimmer brush, I played with the shimmer brush to see what she would look like. So then later I would make a note. This was flamingo shimmer brush and this was bluebell shimmer brush. And then I would note my markers so that like later when I come on to do things and show you guys things, I remember what I've done, because lots of things happen and I can't always remember. It was funny. Somebody sent me a message the other day and she said, you showed something that hangs on your studio door and I thought it would be a fun project to do at a retreat. She said, but I went to go look for the video and I can't remember which one it was. And I'm like, well, no kidding. And for starters, I say a lot of things. I actually can hardly believe that you actually remembered that because it was quite a while ago. But I could figure it out. But I said to her, my response was, I do say a lot of things. It's sometimes hard for me to remember. But at least she'd remember some specific details about what I had said that I was able to remember what she was talking about. Also, so I just wanted you to also know, before I stamped this, I went and I seasoned my stamps and tried them a few times to make sure that they were stamping well before I started to put together a coloring sheet. So I would always just do that on either a scrap piece of white daisy cardstock or even a printer sheet. It's totally up to you. Just you want to make sure all the factory stuff is off. Okay, so this party girl, this is a big stamp. So I have it on the biggest block and I'm going to ink it upside down. I know you probably can't see it because it's upside down, but we're gonna do that. Sorry, and I just made my coffee right before. That's why I was a second or two late. My coffee maker was taking longer than I was hoping for. Okay, so I flipped her upside down and I'm gonna ink her upside down versus having my ink pad on the table and trying to ink her like this. So I might even do that just to start, and then actually she worked pretty well. So, and I'm just holding her up to the light to make sure that she's all covered. On the next one, I'll flip upside down and show you. So then I'm really on this one, I'm using the grooves on the side so that I know that it's kind of level when I'm laying it down. And I'm going to hold her there for a second because there's a lot of surface on this Party Girl stamp set, but she is really cute. So I'm going to have fun playing with these today. So then I also said, okay, so this time I'm going to stamp, I'm going to show you how I can do it upside down. So my stamp is up, and then so I'm just going to tap my ink pad on top of her. And so sometimes, depending on the stamp, one way works better than the other. And sometimes when there's a big image, it's really hard to flip it over and get it all inked up. So sometimes this works better. It's just total trial and error and doing it a few times, right? Again, I'm going to hold it up to the light and make sure I've kind of got all her spots. Wipe the ink off my hand and flip it over. So I'm really taking advantage of the handles on this one. And laying her down. And these ones, of course, don't have to be perfect because you're just going to use them for playing around with, right? So here we go. Okay, so my tips are, for sure, print off the directions and cut ahead. So they won't be doing, as far as I remember, they're not going to do cutting on camera for this event. So I would cut all my pieces and stack them with the projects that they belong to. And if you don't want to do all the projects, you don't have to. You can pick and choose, right? And even if you are not interested in NSD bundles, like they're not something that you found appealing, it's a great resource for learning, right? So who doesn't want to know a little bit more about how to watercolor or how to use their watercolor pencil crayons or fun little tips along the way? So even just look at it from an educational standpoint, right? Learning something new. So I always love to learn something new. So I might not create all the projects, I might, but I will watch. And don't forget, they're also all available on replay. So that is also good. Okay, so print your sheets, cut your projects, put them into piles so you're all ready to go. Find all your supplies. So if you're going to color with your watercolor pencil crayons and you haven't seen them in a while, this is probably a good time to go look for them, right? So dig out your supplies. I think we're going to have to stamp one and paper piece her too, just because I think she is so pretty. So I think we'll do that too while I'm talking. I don't think this would be a long one. I just wanted to kind of give you a couple of tips on getting prepared, not making a huge mess. So make sure you've got lots of adhesive, all kinds of adhesive too, depending on what you like, because 5 projects and you'll go through a lot of adhesive this weekend, that's for sure. So make sure you're stocked up. if you've not clicked going on the event, so if you go to the Close to My Heart Facebook page and then click the events section and click going, because once you have clicked going, there's also going to be prizes this weekend. So you could be entered to win a prize. But like I said, it'll be a good weekend of just learning, if nothing else. Okay, we're going to do one paper pieced girl just to show you. So now I'll go back and I'll put tri-blends at the top, watercolor paints, watercolor pencil crayons, plain, and then with water. But like I said, don't forget, those are not the only ways to color. I'm going to give you a couple more ideas. So also what I have planned for the rest of the week. Sorry, I was just trying to find the lid to my black before we had a bad accident, which we all know it would happen to me. Okay, so I'm going to just grab a scrap of cardstock here, or paper, I mean, and we're going to make her a fancy dress. So in the part of the Party Girl bundle is the cardstock, which the camera really does not like, that matches the You Are Enough scrapbooking paper. So this is the coordinating cardstock. So I'll hold it up closer, but I think it's going to make the camera wonky. So it's got rose gold details on it. So there's coordinating pieces that have the rose gold detail on them, and then just plain pieces of the same colors. So like this is peach, then there's also plain peach. So we're going to make her a dress. So I also know I do not want to, this is just slightly too small. I was going to say that scrap would have been perfect. So we're just going to cut off a thin strip because I don't need the whole thing. That scrap would have been perfect there. Okay. So I don't need to, obviously, I would not use this to cut out her head. So I'm not going to stamp that part, just to save a little bit of the cardstock. So I am just going to ink up her body from the bottom. And we'll cut it out. So I think for sure my live tomorrow, and I can even, if I want, wipe this part off. I am going to use this stamp set, and we're going to use that sketch that I created. That's 8.5 by 11. I'll show you in a second. But we're going to make a 12 by 12, two 12 by 12 scrapbooking pages, I think. So one for sure, but I think it's going to be a double page. So if you don't have the sketch yet and you want it, if you just comment sketch. Okay, so you can see I didn't stamp, I didn't stamp her head and I didn't stamp her legs. So now I can just cut down around her, and we'll paper piece her onto one of the ones I've cut before. I'm going to throw these here so that maybe we stop autofocusing. So I'll show you. So it's this sketch. So if you don't have the sketch, this was the last time I created the layout. So I used Eat, Play, Love paper for it, but I've created it a few times. But we're gonna switch it up and we're gonna create a 12 by 12 scrapbooking page. So So I'm fussy cutting out the dress and I'm following the line. And because this is like detailed cardstock, I am not leaving a border. So lots of times when you fussy cut, you leave a little bit of a white border so that it kind of all blends together, and you can't see necessarily if it's all exact. But when you're paper piecing, you want it more exact on there, because obviously if I left extra peach, then it's going to be very, very noticeable on this image. I do not know why we are having so many. I really hate to have so much white space on because it does do something to the webcam. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to use this stamp set and that sketch, but I'm going to enlarge it to 12 by 12, and I'll talk about how I do that tomorrow. So now I can add this to her, and I can play around with other things. So I could watercolor her legs, I could use tri-blends. There's tons and tons of different options about, like I said, ways to color your images. So like here, for example, so I did use shimmer brush, tri-blends. These are pencil crayons with water. This is tri-blends too. You can also, don't forget, use your pencil crayons with shimmer brush. So I'll just quickly do that. So I will just use the Bloom Pink, and let's do this little guy. So I'm just going to use my watercolor pencil crayon and add color. Okay. And then I'm going to take my clear shimmer brush and I'm going to move the watercolor pencil crayon. So the same way you would do it with your water brush. So just with this, you can do it with your shimmer brush. Oh, I have some still in here. Okay, so I just shake up my shimmer brush, right? I can test it to make sure it's moving on. I'll just use this extra scrap of paper here. So I'll start it. So on it, it says push. So I'm just making sure we've got some liquid going, and then I can even still use this that I have there. So I'm just using that clear liquid to distribute my watercolor pencil crayon, and it makes a sparkly pig. So this would be super fun to do on her dress, right? So I don't know if you can see, but the pig is sparkly. So you could take, if you don't want a paper piece, it would be lovely on her dress. So let's do Mediterranean blue, I think. So I've got one of the watercolor pencil crayons, and I'm just testing it to see if that's kind of what I want. Okay, so I'll just lay the color on her dress lightly. And once it dries, I could always go back and add more if I want, or add in a second color if I want to, right? So, and I don't even really, like, I don't have to make sure that all my space is covered. I just want pigment on each panel of her dress. Let's actually give her a darker belt. So this is the ocean blue. And I'm going to do her underneath layer with the darker color too. So this is the ocean blue. So like I said, you have so many options for coloring. And we'll talk about more of them tomorrow when I do that layout. So tomorrow is Wednesday, the 28th. And I'll let you know in the morning, but I'm assuming I will do my normal 3 o'clock time. So and then the other tip for if you're going to attend the event is that I would stack all my projects kind of in order of how they are going to happen. So take the first project, right, or the last project, and put it on the bottom of your pile. Okay, I'm going to do my dark first. Okay, and then I'm going to actually clean off my tip before I move into my lighter. This would have been good too with two completely different colors. So there. Now I'm going to clean off the tip of my brush. Because it's quite dark what comes off, and I don't want it to, so especially if I've done like a much different color, right? If I've done pink or purple, I don't want that blue in there, right? So now it's moving the watercolor pencil crayon and making her dress sparkly. So just because they're watercolor pencil crayons, you don't have to use water on them. Right? Just like how you can use this to make a stamped image sparkly, you can use it on your pencil crayons. So you could also not do, like, not make the belt sparkly, just make the ruffles sparkly, the dress sparkly. I love watercolor pencil crayons. I feel like they're an awesome cheat to doing watercolor. Okay, so I know you probably can't see it, but it's super pretty in person. Okay, so I think that's, here, maybe I'll glue this one down for you too. I wasn't going to until I came back in and did some of the other coloring, but maybe I'll just glue it down. And then we'll talk about, I'll quickly go over the sheet, what I did, and then my tips, some of my tips again. And I will see some of you tomorrow where I'm going to use that sketch, and I am going to create a 12 by 12 layout with it. Okay, so here we go. This is the sheet we created. So we stamped it. So this is, I think, 1 inch at the top, and then 3, and then 2, and then this is 6. And then I just did a line every 3 inches. So now I'm going to do tri-blends, watercolor paints, watercolor pencils by themselves, watercolors with water. Okay, so super easy. If you want to do this, I would recommend just using a little bit of adhesive, gluing it down to your mat, and then dividing up your grid. But like I said, there's lots and lots of ways to color. So if you really want to play with an image a lot, lots of times, I'll just stamp it a ton of times. And then just like how on here, I'm going to add notes. So here I'll say like ice gray medium, and whether I use that as my shade or whatever. So I'll make just little notes on here so that I remember for next time. Or even like the names of the pencil crayon, right? I can add that to that sheet. But if you want to just play, and then lots of times I'll just make my notes on the back so that I have them for next time. Don't forget about paper piecing. That's totally another option. And that you can then use watercolor pencil crayons with your watercolor pencils. You can use shimmer brush, with your watercolor pencil crayons. So tomorrow on Wednesday, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do that 2-page layout, 12 by 12 from the 8.5 by 11 sketch. And I will drop the link right away there for you. And if you guys have any questions about something that you've seen or something that I've said, send me a message. And so make sure to print your projects, take a quick glance at them so that you kind of know what's going on beforehand. Cut your projects if you're going to do them. If you're not going to do them, I would still advise, it's a great way to learn just by watching somebody else do something, because everybody does things just a little bit different. So it's great to learn from somebody else that is not yourself. So that's what I've got for you guys today, and I will be back tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.